Hello! We don't normally say hello in our videos, well, because there's no reason to, because we just want to jump straight into the review. But this video is very much not usual, because we're having a look at an expansion, and we don't normally look at expansions. See, the rate we're putting out videos, we know that we're not very fast, so we just want to focus on the good stuff, on the meaty things. But this is a special case, this is a special occasion, and there's a special requirement to do this video. We felt obligated to, we felt like we need to, and we're doing a review of Time Stories, A Prophecy of Dragons, which is the second expansion for Time Stories. It adds a much awaited new adventure. I'm sure that everyone's played through the Asylum, which is in the core box, and the Master Case, which came together with the core box. Everyone was waiting for the new thing, A Prophecy of Dragons, and it's out. You can buy it, at least in UK, you can get it now, and possibly by the time some of you are watching this video, you can also get it in other countries as well. And the big question is it just as good as the previous ones? Now, I know not all of you have been sold on Time Stories. Some of you maybe thought that, you know, you weren't really down with the non-replayable aspect, and you weren't necessarily down with the rules and consistencies, and maybe you were just not down with the stories themselves because you felt like the themes were sort of generic a little bit in terms of what we already have out there in board games, and that's completely fine. Hey, to each their own. But we really liked Time Stories, and to us this was special, or it was meant to be special. Okay, so let's get down to the brass tacks. Did we enjoy this? Well, it's not a yes or no answer, actually, sadly. And we're gonna have to delve a little bit deep in what we did like and what we didn't like in A Prophecy of Dragons. But you are afraid of spoilers, and worry not, because there are no spoilers in this video, none whatsoever. So first things first, the story. I want to marry the story in The Prophecy of Dragons and have babies together. Sadly, not legal in UK and 47 of the 50 states in America, so maybe a pass on that. But I have really enjoyed the story, and I thought it innovated on what the previous adventures have done in Time Stories. It kind of built upon it, took that frame, took that kind of construct, and then really ramped it up and added some cool little things and Easter eggs, and there's all kinds of things to explore. Once you're done with A Prophecy of Dragons, you want to look through all the cards. If you know you're not going to play it again, just look through all the cards, because there's some really neat things going on there. We thought the story was excellent, and it's what kept us playing A Prophecy of Dragons. The other thing that's done really well is art. The art is fantastic, but that's already what we're used to see. The game is all about the visuals and identifying things in the visuals. And I thought, even from a gameplay perspective, the art was done really well, and we really like that. But this is sadly where the good things end. So the number one issue with Time Stories was, I think, that there were a lot of rules ambiguities within the game, within the core set itself, and within Master Case. This ramps it up to a whole new level. You see, the problem was for us that even though we played Master Case and we played Asylum and encountered those rules ambiguities there, it didn't stop us from playing the game. Whereas here, they're trying to introduce a lot of really cool, new, unique, different, interesting concepts from a gameplay perspective, and sadly it doesn't work at all, and the game falters and falls down, and we just started arguing, we started just discussing things because we didn't know how to proceed, and it was really unclear, and some of the new rules and concepts introduced are not clear. Some of the locations, you go into them, you have no idea how to complete them, and it was just a mess, and it didn't feel great. And I want to discuss that a little bit further, but I'm going to get back to that, because first we need to talk about the other big issue. The game was bloody hard, and I didn't like that. I don't normally mind hard games. I actually really enjoy the challenge, and this was quite challenging, but not for the right reasons. You see, with Time Stories, I think the kind of game it is, it's not like other board games. It's not like where you sit down on a table and you really want to be challenged. You really want to kind of experience the hard co-op or hard competitive thing, and here you just want to sit down and you want to experience the story, you want to go through it and enjoy it. And it felt like a Prophecy of Dragons had a lot of padding, as in increased difficulty and randomness, worst of all, for no reason whatsoever. Randomness. I know the game is random to begin with because there's dice rolls, but there was randomness in locations, and it was inbuilt into the mechanics, and it felt like all this is doing here is making the game more annoying than it should be, and increasing our playthroughs artificially, which is what you don't want to do. You don't want to do the extra playthroughs, because the extra playthroughs are not really the fun part. They're alright, but you just want to complete the game. And this just infuriates you, because you have to redo it and redo it and redo it again. It didn't feel fun. Space Cowboys, what were you doing? I know you wanted to make the games longer, but this was really not the way to go. But okay, back to the rules and consistencies and what I think happened there. And I don't think this is the developer's fault. Although, pardon me for saying, I feel there's a certain level of arrogance doing these expansion cases the way they are. And it sounds like I'm being very negative and using arrogance as a pejorative. I don't necessarily mean that. But what I'm trying to say is that, you see, when you get this, you just open this up, and there's some cards, and that's all there is in this box. There's just some cards, and you think, great, that's a new adventure. I'm gonna open that card. It's gonna feel so good, right? But the problem is that you open the card and you read it, and you go, I don't know how this works, because this doesn't really explain, because you have to fit all the rule sticks on a card, and the card doesn't really give you the information that you need. And that's the problem. You see, I think the concept of Time Stories is exactly what I want it to be. It's a game that's a relaxing story that you want to enjoy, that you really want to experience. And then you kind of go into it and you realize that to do that, they have to kind of do away with all these extra rule books and all this kind of stuff that's, you know, on the side, and you have to read and learn. It's annoying. No, they want to deliver an experience where you just jump into it, and there's cards, and you look at pictures, and you're having fun. Sadly, reality doesn't work that way, and they probably made the compromise that they shouldn't have. I think the ideal way of doing these is including a booklet that says do not read until instructed to, and whenever you read a rule on a card that you couldn't fit on the card because it just doesn't fit, right, it takes up too much of the card, and you decided in the development process that we're gonna cut this little bit away to, you know, make a nice card and not have a booklet. That was wrong. You shouldn't have done that. What you should have done is put a booklet in that said, don't read this, and on the card, when you introduce a new rule, you say, read that rule booklet, and turn to page whatever. And that way you don't get to spoil the story, and everyone's clear, and everyone knows what's going on. So, what I'm trying to say is that I think there's some really good intentions here. I think that just based on how they develop the story and where they're going with it, they really know what they're trying to do. Except I don't think they've made every decision correctly here. However, there is a bright side to this all. I know that Space Cowboys are paying attention to people saying, hey, the rules are not very consistent, and I know that the rule book is being rewritten, and the new printed versions of Time Stories will have a different rule book that our friend Paul Grogan has worked on and provided some valuable input, and I know that his job, you know, is to do rulebooks, so I expect good results there, but that's not going to be enough. Because Time Stories core set, I appreciate that there's going to be a new rulebook and it's going to be great for new players, but this needs to be clear. This was our 2015 Game of the Year, and for us it still stands that way because we really enjoyed Asylum and we really enjoyed Marcy Case, but this was so not a good experience, and I think we're feeling a little bit hurt because we really liked Time Stories and we were really hoping for this to be good, and obviously when you really want something to be good and it kind of lets you down, you have a lot of negative feelings. But I really tried to be balanced and say, look, we really enjoyed some aspects of this and think you're doing a wonderful job, but Space Cowboys, you need to fix this.